You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this episode of Outside the Trenches. Appreciate you for hanging out with us, spending part of your day with us. Please hit that like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. This show is presented by our friends up at Holiday Distillery, and my favorite product of theirs, the Five Farms Irish Cream. It is delicious, highly recommended. And just like this episode is going to be highly recommended as we get into the heart of the off-season, speculation season, Nick's favorite time of the year, as I'm joined, as always, Mr. Nick Leckey and Tucker Franklin. Boys, how goes it this evening? We're recording late on Wednesday night. So, Nick, how goes it? How's the last week been for you, buddy?
It's been good. It's been good. I'm already sick of this offseason, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the receipts that people keep, the super edit of everyone saying that, you know, Mahomes wasn't going to be shit and it's a rebuilding year. And it's just like, God, like, how do these people get paid to talk sports? I'm like, do they just say shit to clip? Like, I don't think they believe half of what they say. That's why it bothers me. And that's why I'm thankful that we don't do that here. We don't do that at KCSN. There's no hot takes. Just here's the info. Here's the opinion. This is what I believe based off watching film. What a weird concept. What an absolutely weird concept.
Very solid, lukewarm takes.
Very
room
solid.
temperature takes. Right down the middle.
We were on it. We were on it early. The Frank Clark, the Tyreek Hill not being a factor. I mean, this is things here.
We've got receipts. We can go back and listen to those episodes. We'll put like a whole highlight reel together of all the things that we were right about.
Can we? And then me thinking Denver was going to win the AFC West there this year. I'll be honest with that. I thought they were going to do it. I thought
everybody early in the year saying like we need to cut Frank Clark, and I'm basically just like, shut up.
We've always been defenders since you were with the Chiefs speech.
There's a lot of them. We're not the only people who believed in Frank Clark. I'm going to put that out there. Obviously, I'm very happy for all his success, and he's one of the greatest pass rushers in NFL postseason history. No big deal. Tuck, how goes it? How have you been since the last time I saw you 2 hours ago?
I'm good. We're getting into the off-season stuff. So not only do we get a lot of Chief stuff, obviously, draft shows getting picked up. We got, MLS season starts this weekend. As we're recording this podcast, as you mentioned, late on a Wednesday, because we like to wait to the very last minute to give you the most up-to-date information when we record podcasts. That's the reason we do this. We're doing this for you guys. So hopefully you enjoy the episode. I know it's going to be a good one. Preemptively, just already selling it high.
All right. Peter Vermees. Contract
extension.
Oh, yeah. Big news.
Okay.
Yeah, till like 2028.
Yeah. Oh, then not a real year, by the way. Like, we're not going to get to 2028, right?
We'll have flying cars before we get to 2028.
Come on. That's not a real year.
All right.
That's the future.
People listening to this point, you know the deal. We got our Blind Hill segment coming up. But guys, the headlines, the one topic I want to spend some time talking on, because it's been the talk of the Chiefs and of the NFL, at least within our little world here lately, is Eric Bieniemy going to the Washington Commanders, and former Chiefs running back LeSean McCoy coming out and being very vocal, which I'm going to use the word consistent in air quotes here. But he has been very consistent in that he is very obvious he does not like Eric Bieniemy at all. But his comments have obviously struck a chord with not just Chiefs fans, but a lot of former Chiefs players and current Chiefs players have come out, quote tweeted the segment that went out on social media and basically said, I had a completely different experience with Eric Bieniemy. And anyone who's ever been around Eric Bieniemy, it's going to be that. He's an old school coach. He's going to not sugarcoat. He's going to tell you exactly how he feels, exactly where you stand. And some players don't handle that very well. So before we get into a lot of it, Nick, I'm curious for you, what kind of coaching did you kind of take to? Because the guys who like to be coached hard, who that's kind of what brought out the best of them, or at least didn't take it personally when a coach was hard on them, those are the guys that would lay in front of a truck for Eric Bieniemy. And the guys that were towards the end of their career, LeSean McCoy, Le'Veon Bell was the same way. He's going to tell you you're washed if you're washed, or that you're not the same player and that you're a backup. Some guys don't handle that very well, and it seems like that's what's happened with LeSean McCoy, because there's definitely some vitriol with the way that he's been talking about him. But Nick, what kind of coaching did you take to when you were a player?
I was like coaches who just would work with you. I always adapted to any coach and how they wanted to operate. Like if a coach wanted to MF me, that's fine. Or if a coach, wanted to use, like the sugar technique, I responded to either. I always knew personally that I always wanted to win. I was doing everything I can from my end to get better, to make sure that we have the correct play called and the right formations. And I was performing my highest level. So coaches are really going to affect me too much, if anything like that. So it's just, whatever style they want to do, they can do. But I never liked tough guys, like I never liked fake tough guy stuff. Like all that stuff to me was out the window. Like when you start trying to act tough, or if you're a phony, if you're not yourself, like just be who you are. Like that's it. And I think that's what EB does so well, is he's New Orleans through and through.
Be yourself.
Yeah, exactly. What is that?
Tuck. Just friends. Come on.
Nope.
Anyway, it's only in our house that, there's like 4 people listening. Like, I know what that was from. I appreciate it.
Exactly right. Yes.
Tucker, what kind of coaching did you take to?
Oh, I find myself similar. As an offensive lineman, you seem to get a lot of like gritty coaches, right? That are just old school. Just like you have to put in the work type of coach. And that's kind of, when I was coaching, I was just kind of like, I'm not gonna feel sorry for you. You just gotta work, because when I was coaching, we didn't have the biggest offensive line, right? But so you had to work on the heart a lot with the offensive line that I had. So you had to work on the mindset a little bit. So it was a little bit different than the coaching that I would have liked. I like it to like when a coach would get on you, to call you out a little bit and make you feel like you had to work a little bit harder. That's what I liked, and that's kind of the coach that I wanted to be. But obviously, you got to adapt with the things you see, but with what you have. But no, that's what I like. I like to be held accountable, pretty much. Because sometimes with the coaches that are a little bit, what did you call it, Nick? Giving you the sugar? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like a sugar bear technique. Or
yeah. Sometimes you can feel like you can get away with some stuff, and that's never good for development. You want to always be held accountable and consistent.
Yeah, I think the comparison between football and baseball is not there. They're not coached the same, but I very much like my college baseball. He wasn't yelling and screaming a lot, but he didn't talk to you unless you earned it. Like, he didn't sugarcoat. He knew exactly where you stood. He gave you a compliment. You earned it, because it didn't come very often. He didn't just shower everybody with compliments just because everybody was trying real hard and he was happy the guys were trying. It's like, you're only here because you try hard. So I expect that. That's the bare minimum, is putting everything you have into it. So anyway, I responded to knowing where I stood. And I never had to worry, what is he thinking? What does he think about this? What does he think about that? It's like, work your tail off. And when you do something well, he's going to give you a compliment if you've earned it. And I always responded well to that. But one of the interesting things with some of these takes that have come out about Eric Bieniemy, and I'm talking guys like Sharkandrick West came out, Juan Thornhill came out, Jeff Allen came out and said something, Jamal Charles came out and said something kind of in defense of EB, and said a lot of people have said some things all along the same lines of, he's not a coach for everybody because of the way that he is, very old school, in your face. But I thought it was really telling that Tyreek Hill came out on his podcast, and that's probably going to trigger a lot of Chiefs fans, because it seems like when we talked about Tyreek's podcast, it's always been him calling Tua the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, or all the other things that just genuinely annoyed Chiefs Kingdom for a player that's still going to go down as one of probably the best wide receiver in franchise history. I don't think there's like a whole lot of argument there
After
with that.
No, stop it.
Dwayne Bowe, Eddie Kinnison, Derek Alexander, Otis Taylor is obviously the one.
I think Jamal Charles is up there too in terms of his so I mean,
he got the screen game, right?
right.
Jared McKinnon is probably right there.
He
too.
might be, honestly. I'm gonna look that up. I might have to look that up. He's got.
But I want to throw to this segment because I saw it on social media, and I thought that Tyreek did a good job of just kind of explaining his process and what EB meant to him as a coach.
When I first got in the league, I was a running back, and EB coached running backs. You feel me? So, like, he made me understand who I was as a player. And to him, it's bigger than football. Like, playing football is part of the blessing. But outside of football, who you are as a person, how you carry yourself every day as a person, that's the message what he was delivering to me, dog. That made me realize who I was. That made me understand my true power. And truth be told, not a lot of people will understand EB as a coach, because he's a yeller. He like to yell. He like to do this and that.
Right.
But that phase me, bro. I must be able to sit there, listen to you, and talk to you, and do whatever you got to do, as long as you got the message to me. You feel me?
I think it's good because the whole point is the message got received, which is all you're trying to do as a coach is get through to your player with whatever message you're trying to do. And some people, when they get yelled at, they completely tune it out. And some players, when they're told, hey, you're not the same player that you were, and this is your new reality, they then tune everything else that's out. And that kind of seems like what happened with Le'Veon Bell and what's happened with LeSean McCoy. But it seems like Andy Reid always gets a pass on these things. I don't know if he just handles it better than EB, and EB doesn't sugarcoat and just kind of lets it out. Really like to know, be a fly on the wall of how those two handle those discussions, because Andy Reid's not gassing them up either, making it sound like everything's great, and then he doesn't play, because that's a short-term kind of deal. So really curious how he navigates in terms of Andy Reid. Always seems to navigate that stuff so well, because you never really hear players say a lot of negative things about Coach Reid, even though the same message is being delivered.
His quote was epic. Andy Reid's clapback.
Yeah.
Where he said he said we had some LeSean McCoy, right?
Well, when Le'Veon Bell actually is the one that went after Andy Reid. This was a year or two ago, and Le'Veon Bell was just like, I don't like Coach Reid. Coach Reid was like rude to me or something like that. And he's like, well, sometimes you get like two old dogs or something like that. He had like a metaphor that he worked in there, basically saying that Le'Veon Bell was past his prime. That clap back to him was just like, oh, okay, well, that's why he doesn't like Andy Reid, is because he was past his prime.
Yeah, not the.
I guess he did navigate it.
Not the youngest pup, and there was a lot of young pups in the kennel. He wasn't a young pup, but also you got to look at too. Like I think with EB, I've never watched or heard or seen EB coach, but from what I've gathered is that he was a yeller, he's old school, and which gears you more towards like a rookie coach, right? Where you listen to that, and if you're a vet and you come into that not knowing that, then it could be a bit abrasive to you. It's not what you're used to, and some people don't respond to that. And also look at too with him, LeSean McCoy. He's the guy. He's the starter, and he fumbled twice in crucial situations and got benched. I mean, he was on the Super Bowl team, right, as an inactive. So man's got some bitterness in his heart. So let's not forget, what they're, what you're dealing with too. So he's got a lot of hate in his heart. He's got to get it out somehow, man, and get his 2 cents in.
Yeah, I was looking at LeSean McCoy's stats in Kansas City. Had a little bit more. He had more touches than I thought he did. 129 total touches, 3 fumbles. One of them came on. I think 2 of them were running the ball. One was on a screen pass. I saw that video kind of going around where he had the ball like out here, and
always
the guy came out behind him and punched it out. But yeah, he had a little bit. He had more production than I thought he did. 465 yards on the ground. But I mean, yeah, that's a far cry from what he had. As in his prime in Philadelphia, and even in Buffalo, he had a few good years there in Buffalo where he had almost 1,000 yards in those 4 seasons. So, some real interesting stuff coming from a guy who was at the end of his career, and he went to, I believe, he went to back-to-back Super Bowls. Is that right? Yeah, 2019 and 2020. Yeah. Wait,
really?
Was he on the 2020 Chiefs?
He was on the 2020 Buccaneers, so he won back-to-back Super Bowls.
Oh, wow.
The 2019 Chiefs won the Super. Yeah, sorry.
He got heart carried twice.
The years were getting mixed up in my head just because when the Super Bowl was played. But
right.
Yes, the 2019 Chiefs and the 2020 Buccaneers is what the teams were. He had a total of 10 carries for 31 yards on that Buccaneers team. So he really put in the work on that one.
I'd make a joke about that, but then I just think about Melvin Gordon just handling it so well. And I was like, why can't you be more like Melvin Gordon?
Where was Clyde? Was Clyde in New York? What's the deal?
For the parade.
What do you got going on for the parade? Did you have some what's the deal?
It's a great
He was at a fashion show, apparently. So I'm sure the story is going to come out. I know a lot of people assume that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get cut. He would be like a $2.6 million cap hit or something. Like there's only like an $800,000 difference if he's on the team or if he gets cut. If he gets cut, it's like a $2.6 million dead cap hit. So to go sign a veteran running back, anybody but a draft pick is going to hurt your cap. I'd say almost significantly if you're talking $3-4 million to go get a veteran you have to pay on the cap compared to just keeping Clyde on the team. So I would actually lean towards a better chance of him coming back because of the business side of it and what his dead cap would be than Clyde being gone. But finishing up some of the headlines as we just put the bow on the Eric Bieniemy stuff, and I don't think I speak for all of us that were rooting for Eric Bieniemy, be really curious and be paying attention to their offense, because Rod Rivera being a defensive-minded guy, like he already said, like Eric Bieniemy gets the offense. He's play calling, he gets help kind of put together the staff, game plan, do all of that stuff. So you're really not going to have any excuses for people who don't think that he could do that, or that it was all Andy Reid and that Eric Bieniemy was just kind of getting the credit, although they didn't say that with Doug Peterson or Matt Nagy. But other news coming out for the Chiefs right now, McCole Hardman has had his surgery, came out, thanked everybody on social media. It's going to be huge for him to show that he's healthy. He's a free agent, along with a handful of other guys, Juan Thornhill, Colin Saunders, Andrew Wiley. Those guys are going to have big off seasons for themselves. And right after this quick break, we are going to get into our blind nil segment. So hang around. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Outside the Trenches here on KC Sports Network. We appreciate all you for hanging out. We've gone through the headlines, and now you know the deal. It is time for our blind nil segment, which means if you're a first-time listener, each one of us has a different topic, different segment that we're going to talk through. The other two do not know what it is, so you're getting very off-the-cuff answers. Tucker, let's start with you this time. What have you got for our blind nil?
Well, I was thinking about this. I even sent this tweet out, actually, on the KC Sports Network Twitter account. I sent this tweet out because I'm curious, when people look back on this 2023 season, I want to know what your guys, obviously outside of the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, that's an easy answer. I don't want to hear that answer, but what was your favorite moment, your favorite best storyline maybe, but your favorite moment from the Chiefs season this year? There's a lot of great moments in this season. Some necessarily obviously better than others. Winning the Super Bowl, I'm taking that out of it. You don't get to pick that one. But outside of the Super Bowl, what was your favorite moment from the season?
The rise of Pacheco and McKinnon, and not only seeing, I can't see that, just a white paper.
I know. It was there. That's literally, I literally wrote down rise of Pacheco. That was, I don't know, did you look at my paper before this?
Of course I did. I went like this.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I saw it. Yeah, no, well, to me, it's something, we saw in the preseason. Like, I watch film and you see it in the preseason, you see guys working, right? And you see how they interact and see hungry running backs. And I loved how they gave Clyde a chance, because I think that's what you do, right? You're a first-round pick, so you get a chance. You get a chance to perform. And they're like, all right, we're sick of this experiment, and we're going to start sprinkling in some McKinnon, some Pacheco, and they earned it through the normal routes, special teams, being kick-ass and pass pro, and just running hard, running angry. And I love how they were able to adapt this O-line finally, like the second half of the Super Bowl, and just run the ball. Just run it. That's it. And you get a two-headed Hydra dragon, fire-breathing dragon, coming at you. So get out the way.
I've got a couple. I'm not going to take this in answer because I can't narrow it down to one, but the first, obviously, the obvious one is Patrick Mahomes and what the offense did. I don't want to take that low-hanging fruit, but what they did without Tyreek, that was the biggest storyline throughout the year. My next one is Chris Jones. It was a huge year for him coming in and going back and hearing the things that he said and reading the comments that he made right after the Bengals lost in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. And then what he said when he got to training camp to start the season, that he thought about that game and that he left plays out on the field. Is what Trent Green, I had the conversation with Trent Green earlier this week on KCSN Update. That was a phenomenal discussion. If you listen to this, go back and listen to the conversation I had with Trent. He talked a lot about Chris Jones, and even off the record and away from the mic, some of the conversations he had with Chris of knowing that we needed to see him play at a Defensive Player of the Year type level for the Chiefs defense to be what they needed to be for them to win as many games and get the number one seed and go win a Super Bowl. And for a player that was homegrown, that we've seen kind of develop and mature in front of our eyes, like, it was amazing to watch Chris Jones go out and play the way that he did this year. And then the final one, which it didn't really dawn on me till right now, is that we talked, you think back to like week 2, 3, 4, 5, Butker rolls his ankle. All we can talk about are special teams or what's going to be holding this team back, whether it's missing extra points, missing field goals, but it was also the punt return stuff. And it was like Sky Moore muffing all the punts. And then think about the Super Bowl. Kadarius Toney has the longest punt return in NFL in like Super Bowl history, which is the biggest play in that game. And Butker hit game-winning field goals in both the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. I know they were short, but like to win the game. And you think back to week 3 and everybody, the sky is falling, everything's going to fall apart. And then by the end of the year, it's like, they'll get it figured out. They'll get it fixed. Dave Tobe is good at what he does. Brett Veach is good at what he does. Brought those guys in. And so for special teams to be such a negative thing, discussed, picked apart, the holding, all the crap, for it to get into the playoffs, and not just for that to not be a problem, but to be the reason that they won. I'll always remember spending 2 weeks debating and analyzing holds, like on a field goal or extra point.
Oh my God.
I spent a lot of time. We've never done that before.
I heard angle of the ball, and I talked about that, and I'm like, I hate myself right now for talking about this.
No, all those are very good. I wrote down like 4 or 5 because there are really good, like some pretty solid, good moments from this. I think a big one that I saw on the replies to the tweet, obviously saw a lot of Super Bowl ones, people taking the easy way out on that one. But the second most one that I saw was beating the Bengals after them talking just so much mess leading up to that game. Like that, just the feeling of like the weight off the shoulders, losing 3 times to those guys, beating them in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. That's huge. And I think it's even bigger that they didn't have a letdown in the Super Bowl, right? Because I think that's really easy to have a letdown after a game like that has so much emotion riding on it. So I think that's kind of an underrated part of how they played in the Super Bowl. But I have the second thing I have written down was sweeping the AFC West. After everyone was talking about how good the AFC West was going to be, the Chiefs come out and still beat them. And every chance that they get, they beat every team in the AFC West. They beat the Broncos 2 more times. They beat the Raiders, who Raiders are supposed to be super good, had really good offense. Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, all this. Now, both those guys might not be there in a couple of years. Devontae Adams might be gone too. So then you got the Broncos, obviously, the dumpster fire that they were. The Chargers, who actually, I don't know if you guys have seen this. They're already anointing them as the AFC West leader or winner next year. I know Nick doesn't care, but they've already talked about it. I think the Ken Swanson made a tweet about it, about how the Chargers website was writing, Chargers already picked to finish the AFC West on top. Nice try. So it's already happening early, but I think sweeping the AFC West after there's so much hype, saying the Chiefs are going to finish last, the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs. And I love how people are like, oh, the Chiefs made all this stuff up. Like now people are like, oh, this is made up. No one said that the Chiefs were going to miss the playoffs. Who said all this? And like everyone's like, oh, okay, we're going to now dump you with so many videos of clips, people saying that the Chiefs were going to make the playoffs. Like, well, those people actually don't know what they're talking about. Okay, now we're moving goalposts. It seems like in this conversation, we just keep moving goalposts about what we can and can't use as receipts, and it seems like it happens every time with the Chiefs. Listen, Chiefs are the villains now. Chiefs are the Death Star. The Chiefs are what everyone's trying to beat. Every team in the NFL, AFC specifically, is going to be built to beat the Chiefs, and they're going to be tough matchups. So, I did think that's kind of that evolution of the Chiefs also as well of being a team that was likable to a team that now everyone does not want to see you win. When you go to the Super Bowl, you're seeing maps of like everywhere besides Kansas and Missouri picking the Chiefs to win. That feels kind of good. I'll say it.
I got 2 more that I'm going to add to this list.
Yeah.
One.
I thought it was just like 1. You guys have like 4. Like I got like.
Shut up, Nick.
Come on.
We can add as many as we want, Nick. Len Dawson.
Yep.
And playing the season for Lenny that we kind of forgot about because he was so early. Was special. And then I can't not talk about Frank Clark. And it's not even a thing other than if it ends up being his last year in Kansas City. I would love to see Frank come back. I have no idea if he's going to be back or not. But either way, he changed his narrative as much as any player could within a year of people that weren't supporting him to see, and for everybody to talk about the postseason sacks and all of that. He is viewed completely differently because he came back this year and his time in Kansas City, and obviously winning the Super Bowl, all that stuff helps. But going back to training camp and just seeing the way that he talked about it, I love that the cameras caught a lot of the conversations he had with Andy Reid. I'm glad that he spoke with the media and was open with them about those kinds of things, because those were kind of like the vibes of the conversations that I had with him back when I was there, which is one of the reasons that I supported him as much as I did. Is like, hey, I know a guy personally. We've had some real conversations. I'm going to support this dude. And I saw what he did from a leadership perspective behind the scenes. So that was kind of where I was always coming from. If you're listening to this, you know how I felt about it. But for him to come in shape, lose all the weight, come in, be very kind of honest about like his struggles and all of that at training camp, going back to that, And then all the time that he was spending after practice with George Karlaftis and some of the other younger guys and showing that leadership, it just kind of like put in motion all of these things that led to him having success on the field, having success in the postseason, and then kind of rewriting his legacy for a lot of people and the narrative around him and his time in Kansas City. There were a lot of people that had been supporting him the whole time, but I feel like Frank did a phenomenal job this year of going down as like a Chiefs legend at this point, more widely known or widely accepted. And I think if he had not come back this year and did what he did.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor? Are we talking Ring of Honor for Frank Clark now? 2 Super Bowls, looking at what he's done in Kansas City.
I would, but you know how many... There's a lot of dude. This is what happened with like the 2000 teams. He's like, you only put one guy in the Ring of Honor a year. And how many dudes on the team right now are going in the Ring of Honor?
I mean,
Andy Reid.
Tyreek Hill probably
Patrick
goes in the
Mahomes.
Ring of Honor. I know he's on the team right now. You don't think so? You don't think Tyreek Hill? He's like, I've got the.
Do I think he deserves it because of what he did? Yes, but for the same reason. Mahomes is going
all time in receiving franchise.
But think about the time in which this is going to come. You're talking about Tom Ali, Derek Johnson. I know they retired early, but all these guys have to get in, and they start bottlenecking how many guys you can put through. But you get obviously Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones. Like those guys are hard. Andy Reid is going to be going in.
Veach.
Veach. I don't know if they put a GM up there.
They better.
I know Carl Peterson's name is up there.
Why?
Stop it.
Why do they only put in one a year? Is that a principal thing or?
I don't know. Just what they do. They announce it at the.
How they've always done it, Tucker.
I just didn't know if it was just
They're running out of space. Like, I don't know what they're going to do because they can only go around the ribbon so many times.
That's true. There's always, one ring to roll them all.
But I mean, I do think those guys deserve. But at some point, you kind of run into, like there's so many dudes. That's kind of what's happening with a lot of those 2000 teams. A lot of dudes that deserve to be in from those 2000 like legendary teams, and they're not in yet just because again, one a year.
I have the receiving list up because I was looking up the Jerick McKinnon number. I know that we talked about that 58 minutes ago, but he's 82nd all time, ahead of guys like Demetrius Harris, Jonathan Baldwin, Leonard Pope, my guy.
Poper, 8'2" from Americus, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean he has more receiving yards than Noah Gray does. So think about that, and Clyde. So just saying.
All right, that was a good one. All right, let's move on to the next blind no. Nick, I'll close it out. Nick, what do you got for us?
What? Okay, so I know what I like to do, like, because I watch film during the year, and like, so I can't focus on anything else. So
it's the second time you've told us that you watch film.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, I'm sick of watching film. Basically, is what I'm saying. Usually around like week 1 of playoffs, I'm like, I don't like watching film anymore. Like, I'm just like over it. What's your end of season shift of focus? Like mine, like I start watching English Premier League. I watch Chelsea play. So I just get away from football, just totally get away from it. What do you guys do to get away from staying involved with Chiefs stuff, or do you just stay in it, go to draft season?
I was going to draft season.
Oh my god,
that's a draft season.
Oh, I don't
know if it surprised you, Nick. I don't have a lot of free time in my life right now just to sit back and watch whatever producing. I'm not watching highlight, producing a lot of our draft features. We just put 3 out on Zay Flowers, A.T. Perry, and Bryce Ford Wheaton. We'll have 3 more next week. And then 3 more after that, 3 more after that, 3 more after that. We've got 3 one-on-one interviews, plus going to the combine, getting some more one-on-one interviews when we're up there. Plus some other things that we have going on at KC Sports Network that are taking a lot of my time that we were talking about before we started recording that we haven't completely announced yet. So a lot of cool stuff coming. Very exciting times with the company, but I get into draft season, Nick.
I like draft season when they've already drafted. There's too many players to focus on. Better. Once you get drafted, it's like, all right, let's watch the film. Let's see what they're all about.
You just get the draft guide and you can just read through all of it. Shout out to
a lot of reading.
Link in bio.
ACSN draft guide. Link in bio.
Description.
There you go.
Bio. So Jake Paul shout out. Anyway,
Tucker.
I know.
Friend of the program.
Jake Paul. Yeah, I have undiagnosed ADHD and I hyperfixate on things. Like I just go quickly from one thing to another, but like if I hyperfixate on something, I'm going to go all out in it. And right now, my hyperfixation is I'm going to get absolutely jacked for no reason. I've been talking to Maddie Lane about eating supplements and just weight programs. I've also been watching, I told you guys this, I've been watching a lot of like Stone Cold, or I think they're called Broken School Sessions for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And those guys, just watching WWE wrestlers, are so jacked. And I was like, I want to be like that. So I'm going to lift. I think I'm going to get into lifting hardcore. So yeah, Matt Lane's going to help me out there. So that's what I'm hyperfixated on right now. Talk to me again in 2 weeks and I'm probably moved on to like vintage resale or probably Legos again. Who knows?
Yeah.
It goes like, it's bad. It's not great, but like I just hyperfixate on one thing for a couple months if it's good and then move on to the next thing. But
if you would have asked me what you fixate on, I would say I think you should leave memes and videos.
Well, I got a whole like album in my phone just to pop those open real quick. I think I even sent one in the group chat just a little bit ago. So
You did.
yeah, cannot stop watching that show. What show? I think you should leave. It's by Tim Robinson. He used to be on SNL.
Nick might love it, actually.
It might be up Nick's alley.
It might be right up your alley, buddy. It is weird.
I think you should leave. That's what it's called.
It's a bunch of sketches that were too raunchy for Saturday Night Live. Is that true, Tucker? I've tried watching it.
That's what
I've got into some. Some of them are funny. Then you get into like 3 or 4 in a row that you don't like, and they're like 20 minutes long. So if you find 2 or 3 in a row, they're not great.
Start with season 2, episodes 1 and 2. Those are that run of sketches right there are the best 2. Like straight all of the sketches I've gone through and ranked every one of them. By the way, another hyperfixation.
So
I should do a podcast. We could do your own. I think you should leave podcast
and go through each episode talking about each kid in each episode. That'd be good.
Rewatch part. Watch.
Listen, season 3 is about to drop. It's in production right now. So, I mean, that's something that could legitimately be pretty cool that I would be into. But yeah, so again, about my hyperfixations, if I'm going to fixate on something, I'm going to like go all out. Like when I get like into my phases with Nick, as you talked about your EPL, the Premier League, I will buy a jersey. I'll get the scarves. I will go all out. If I'm going to get Legos, I'm going to get the best Legos there are. If I'm going to get into getting jacked, I'm going to drive to Supplement Superstore at 8:15 at night and go buy creatine. Not that I just did that or anything, but like that's what I do. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out and do it. So really, living with me is an adventure. Bless Sarah's heart for doing it, because you never know when I'm the wild card. You never know what I'm going to get into next, and it could just be a video I see on TikTok of Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestling and say, yep, I want to be a WWE wrestler now. Or it's something that's just like that. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm hyperfixated on right now. So I guess that's what I'm going to do for a little bit. Then we'll figure it out in a couple months when we record again.
I hope to see you in Chuck T's doing deadlifts.
Yes, I'm going to be so jacked. Like I want myself.
I want everybody listening to this episode to hyperfixate on this for the next 2 minutes as we take one last quick break. We are going to talk about Patrick Mahomes' new documentary and break that down with the final Blind Nil segment right after this quick break.
Yes.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Outside the Trenches here on KC Sports Network. I'm BJ with Nick and Tucker as per usual. We've got 2/3 of the Blind Nil segments done. We've got one last one, and that is mine. And I kind of teased it before we got started. We got Patrick Mahomes' new documentary that really didn't get leaked out. I think it was interesting that nobody really knew that this was happening, and that it was Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and Kirk Cousins all had video crews following him around for the entire year to do a Netflix documentary called Quarterbacks. And the only reason I know that people didn't know is that Matt Derrick, who covers the Chiefs, he's a beat writer. He's one of the guys who's there every single day going back to OTAs when there's like 4 media people there. Matt Derrick is one of the 4 who's had all of those practice. Yeah, he knows what's going on.
You heard street cred, man, is in your OTA reporting, man.
Then you get to like Super Bowl media night, the players will answer his question because they're like, I don't know who all you jokers are, but that dude has been here every day. I will answer his questions.
Yeah, absolutely, you do.
Phase 1 workouts in shorts, and they're over there watching and breaking it down. Love it. But Matt Derrick saying, hey, I'm finally glad that we got answers to who all the strange people following Mahomes around all year were. And it was like, if they were doing that all year and it was a thing, I don't know if they asked and weren't told the truth about what was happening or just never asked like the Chiefs PR team or whatever, but thought that was interesting that they didn't know, but excited to see that documentary. That is going to be something. I think it was in conjunction with like a bunch of different production companies, but Omaha Productions, which is obviously Peyton Manning's connected to ESPN, NFL Films, I think is kind of taking the lead on it. And then Patrick Mahomes apparently now has his own production company called 2 PM Productions, which is, going to be fire and be very, very good. But my blind nil about this, Nick, is that if you could pick a camera crew to follow anybody in the NFL around for a year and do a documentary, who would you choose for that camera crew to follow around?
Are we showing nightlife? Are we showing like what they do at night?
I'm not putting those kind of limits on your answer here, buddy.
So you'd have to think about somebody.
I'll go first since I had more time to think about this.
Yeah.
I would say I think Andy Reid would be hilarious because I think you get to see the other side of Andy Reid that you get glimpses of, but the players talk about all the time about how much they love him because he's hilarious. He makes jokes all the time. Like he's like, from a very small example, and I don't have any information other than I can picture what the meeting was like of Jerick McKinnon sliding at the 1 yard line. They called it church mode because you don't score in church. And like that was the way they explained it. And that's an absolute like Andy Reid thing to call it that, explain that that's why they do it, make a bunch of jokes about it. And then we never really hear the backstory of when they all learned that it was called church mode. And they all just yell that out as opposed to, hey, go down. We don't want to score. It's hey, church mode. And they know exactly what it is. Hilarious.
It's funny.
But I think if a camera followed Andy Reid around, I think you'd see a different side. And he's one of the guys, like whenever he's done coaching, hoping like 15 years after 10 more Super Bowls, I can see him, if he wanted to do media, being phenomenal at it because you'll see a lot more of the fun, joking side of him that is why the players love him so much.
I hope it's better than his State Farm commercial.
Oh, buddy, don't slander that commercial. Don't slander that commercial. That's good.
No, it's not. No,
what do you mean it's not good?
It's terrible. He's overacting. He's so
perfect.
Yeah.
He's perfect for it.
Don't tell the king if he's not wearing clothes, man. Just be honest. It's okay. It's okay. You can say it. It's okay. It's okay to point out.
That's the second worst take you've ever had in our history. Outside the trenches or in the trenches. We'll go old school.
Inside the trench. Wow.
Jody Fortson in the 3rd round of the fantasy football.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Bro, he's running decoy. He's running decoy routes for Travis Kelce to get 5 touchdowns in one game, dude. I want to hear it. Come on. He's running clear out routes, man. Come on, dude. He's exactly.
Tucker.
Okay. All
right, Nick, you go.
He had a great block in that Kadarius Toney punt return.
Marcus Kidd.
He had a massive.
Or Fortson.
Two. And he cleaned up someone at the end, so I don't want to hear it.
It's a lot of fantasy points you got for
a lot of fantasy
block on a punt return.
I don't play fantasy ever at all. I'm trying to think. I think Tyreek Hill would be interesting because I see he goes to a lot of those one-on-one pass pro or one-on-one passing things in Miami.
With destroying.
Well, no, he watches, supports it. Yeah.
Oh,
so he watched all of those. I don't know what these kids do. They get out and do like one-on-one drills or pass routes versus each other and then film it, kind of like and one, almost kind of concept.
Yeah, that's the destroying. Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was called that.
Yeah, no, he was like a UCF kicker that got kicked out of the NCAA because the NCAA wasn't allowing him to run his YouTube channel. Millions of views, and it was and the dude is like a phenomenal athlete. Like, they had him. I think he's like a sideline reporter for the XFL. But if you like get on YouTube, like he's one of the more popular dudes on there. And I know Tyreek had done a few videos with him. So
I would love to see any like I think Tyreek would have a good one just because he's out and about. Any like rookie, any like established rookies, like rookie or second year. I think that's when you go hard in the paint. because it's new to you, and you're making money, you're in college, and I guess NIL is different. But someone in a good market, like Vegas, Vegas would be a cool one. Get nightlife. LA would be a cool one. So I have to say, I'd like to see what Waller's all about. He keeps to himself, but he's in Vegas, man. He got the neck tattoos. Him and Max Crosby, right? I think. I mean, you got neck tattoos, man. You going hard in the paint. You ain't going to church on Sunday, or Sunday night, right? I mean, it's like
Jimmy Garoppolo, single, and just Jimmy Garoppolo, single, good looking dude, just out on the town.
Bachelor every night.
Won't talk about some of his exes.
Insane
dated, but that would be an interesting documentary.
Yeah, Garoppolo would be a good one. Like I would love to see Garoppolo wearing a GoPro to see the looks he gets, because I think my wife is capping and says he's not an attractive man, and that is the most handsome player in the NFL as of right now. So right.
There's the video of him at like the Golden State Warriors game, and like all the cheerleaders came up and said hi, and they didn't say hi to Christian McCaffrey, like any of the dudes.
Nobody. And they were fiending. They were like, we're sad, man. They were geeking out of their minds and look at Jimmy G in the flesh courtside, dude. I mean, you're distracted a cheerleader? No, it's impossible. And he did. So he's handsome. So yeah, Jimmy G would be a good one too. Plus I love the Bay Area too. Bay Area kicks ass.
You said the Tyreek one, and I started thinking about Mike McDaniel, and I can't get the video out of my head that went on social and I think it's gone viral multiple times, where it says like Mike McDaniel's the guy that like his dad left town and he let him take over the company, and he's just like dancing around.
It's a Whoopi Goldberg movie. It's a Whoopi Goldberg movie, right?
I look at him and I just think Pete Davidson, because it's like to me. That's all I see.
Pete Davidson is too jacked to play Mike McDaniel. That's the fun part. I love Mike McDaniel. I love that the Dolphins went a different route with hiring. Yeah. And I love it. I love getting old guard out. I hate this musical chair.
The Cardinals.
Yeah. It's
all right. Anyway,
what
do you got?
Apparently Kyler likes playing Modern Warfare more than he likes watching film, right?
Buddy, have you seen someone on Reddit did like a stat breakdown of like when it's double XP weekend on Call of Duty and what his numbers are, and it's just like,
is it really? Is it bad?
Yeah, it's legitimately, there's legitimately a difference in like when it's double XP weekend on Call of Duty.
I love the internet. I love that the internet goes to that level of things.
So funny.
I knew guys used to bring Xboxes on away games to play in a hotel, to play Madden like all night in away games. So they're just that addicted to playing stuff. Yeah.
I don't get the slant, like people being upset about how much video games the guys are playing.
If you're not winning, they're gonna break it down, dude.
I know.
Cheers all.
But you'd rather that than guys going out getting in like
that's fair.
Getting in trouble. Like they're sitting home playing video games. Like
if they're streaming,
college kids.
They are.
I know that's. Please, someone read what out, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan just sent us a message in our little chat here from August 2022. Kyler minus 7.77 passer rating on double XP weekend, a 4-7 record. When there is a Call of Duty double XP weekend, it stinks.
What's a double XP weekend? You gotta explain to me. I know what Modern Warfare is.
So it's just what that is. So like every time you play like a Call of Duty game, you get XP experience points, right? But you get every game that you play on the weekend
points, Tucker.
Sorry, you get double
down here.
Experience points during that weekend. So like you can really climb the ranks of Call of Duty.
So he's grinding. He's in grind mode on Call of Duty.
He's in grind mode.
I love it.
They pulled the Jamarcus Russell on him, where they like tried to like give him empty tape to say like, oh, what did you watch this weekend? And like they've remember they blasted him up a little bit in his contract, where they're like, yeah, you have to do this many hours of tape study. And everyone's like, why do you have to put that in there if you're going to pay this guy $48 million or however much his contract is? That was a random number, but yeah,
that was the deal with Paxton Lynch when he was with the Broncos as well, and that it wasn't. I don't know if I think this is out there that somebody, I don't remember how they figured it out, but like when you get like an iPad with the team, it has like all of the play call, like they can they can go in and see how much time you spent on like logged into the iPad, like watching film and doing all that stuff. And the team like did that. And then they compared it because somebody on social media had put where he was online playing video games, but you can see somebody's like, I don't know if it's their stats or how long somebody's been online, but the team was like, how in the hell are you spending 40 hours a week playing video games and 1.5 hours a week watching film? And like all the information is public. And so when the Kyler Murray stuff came out, I'm like, yeah, it's like Paxton Lynch.
Well, speaking of Paxton Lynch, he made a
big video game guy.
He made a bit of history.
Don't say it.
He's the only quarterback to be benched in the NFL, CFL, XFL, and USFL. God, that happened this week.
I was telling my wife that.
I did not know this.
Yep, he got benched opening weekend of the Orlando. He's
what quarterback did he go a touchdown? They get benched, but was it kind of like, or did he suck and like it?
Was it a double XG week?
He sucked. I can't remember who their backup quarterback was. The Guardians' backup quarterback. I cannot remember.
Is that your sign? Is that your sign? Like,
dude, it has to be.
I'm not gonna get on that Chase Daniel.
Like, right? I'm not gonna.
It has to be, man. I'm trying to think. It wasn't Ben DiNucci, but Ben DiNucci was not very good either. New XFL, not that bad. I'll say that, by the way. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
First game was exciting.
Yeah, it's good. I'm going to find the backup quarterback. I got to give you context of who he was benched for, so it just gives you the magnitude.
Tucker, have you given us your documentary?
No, I
answer.
haven't. It was DeAndre
stalling like crazy.
He really is.
DeAndre, is that the Florida State kid?
Yeah.
Who?
His teammates hated him.
DeAndre.
Sorry.
Why?
That dude broke his ankle and got like carted off the field, and not a single one of his teammates went over and like dapped him up when he came off.
Oh,
I immediately. This is like behind the scenes. I watched the game. I immediately texted Matt Miller. I'm like, that dude teammates hated him because not a single one of them came over to check on him at all.
There's little things you can see, like if you've been around the game, you can see like who's like, and when other people come up and like dap you up, like other teams, that's you got respect. But when I used to talk to Trez Paylor about that a lot when we would like break down film. That he would talk about how much after a guy made like a big play, how many of his teammates, how excited did he get, how much like how many people celebrate with him. And you can kind of tell the difference when you watch enough of it that you can see stuff. But yeah, that's why I immediately, as soon as I said his name, I'm like, yeah, Florida State quarterback teammates.
Yeah,
didn't seem to like him a whole lot.
Florida State quarterbacks just built differently, huh? It's just different.
Orlando Guardians did have a tough day at the office, though.
All right, Tucker, we're going to wrap this show up as soon as you give us an answer.
Yeah, I was thinking about a bunch of different guys. I do think maybe or Antonio Brown was actually the first guy I thought.
Oh, yes.
He just did some like wild stuff from like
his emails. His emails.
I was fine with. Go ahead. Sorry, Tucker. He crossed lines with the pictures he put out of like him hanging out in Tom Brady's house with Giselle. That went way beyond like, hey, funny, like he's unhappy. Like that was a dick move.
Listen, we're talking about in the league. I'm not talking about what he's doing now because that's off the rails. But because I think there's something there with that, with those, when you look back at those Pittsburgh Steelers teams that had Ben Roethlisberger, notorious guy, off the field issues, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, all
James
on
Harrison.
the same team. James Harrison, retroactively give him all of the Coach of the Year awards.
Mike Tomlin.
There you go. I couldn't think of his name. Give him all of the Coach of the Year awards when those teams were together because you did not hear a single peep. Although, I will say, Antonio Brown did go live after beating the Chiefs in that one game on Facebook Live, if you remember that. And that was kind of like the start of like, oh, this guy's kind of weird. And then he like refused to change his helmet with the Raiders. And the Raiders are like, all right, we're just going to cut you then. And then it all just kind of went down from there. He didn't want to change his helmet.
Pre-Twitter.
That's
why. No, bro. Because the Steelers won in 08.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, okay. Yeah.
The Steelers won in 08 when they beat the Cardinals, and then they won it in 04, 05. So we had everyone kind of together. So pre-Twitter, that's how they're able to keep it together. If you had a Twitter in 04, that team would have been exposed.
That 30 for 30 on those Steelers teams is going to be legendary.
So let's go back to this question, Tucker, since you still haven't answered it correctly, because Antonio Brown is no longer in the league. So you need to come up with a player.
I'd pay money. I'd subscribe to his Substack.
At this point, he's going to say Deshaun Watson.
No, my gosh, no, I'm not gonna say.
You said Antonio Brown, dude.
I know, but I was talking about his playing career. Art from artist. I've got to go. So this is a great question.
Too many. There's too many.
There's this. I think you want to follow around a guy who, I don't know.
You were so stumped.
I don't know why I'm so stunned by this. I think you got to go with a guy who's been around is what you want, like a JJ.
Well, Russell Wilson.
Also,
like a Russell Wilson. Oh.
Oh wow.
Jordan from
Russell Wilson would have
Drew Lock. Russell would not be a bad
Wilson would be legit. Runner pass. Dude, that clip alone. I get mad when I'm like coaching my son flag football and say runner pass, like no one gives a shit. Like it's not going to make a difference. You react or don't. You know?
Nick, this is a good question. You didn't hear, like, if that happened, you don't hear it on the field. Like, I can never remember.
I know.
Like, you're like hearing someone on the other, like, oh yeah, good call.
I would love to be a fly on the wall the first time at a Sean Payton practice that if Russell Wilson's trainers are allowed in there to be like, Russell's done practicing for today. His numbers are there. And Sean Payton's like, get the hell out of here. My quarterback is practicing.
His idea, I wouldn't care.
Can you follow around Jim Irsay? Does that count?
That's a good one.
God.
That dude
That's a great
wild stuff right now.
He's jacked.
That's a great one.
He's jacked, tanned, and juicy as fuck.
It was worth it. It was worth the wait. Like,
God, it really is. You nailed it, Tucker.
Thank you.
Yeah, he said player. Is that player? I mean, he owns players, right? He's the owner.
Well, B did a coach, so I think
that's true. Yeah, see, personnel is on the thing. God, that's really good. That's good.
Andrew Luck would be another good one, but like he's also not in the NFL. But
well, you want to see his book club? I respect him.
They had a whole athletic podcast. I listened to it.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I love Andrew Luck.
The best thing about Andrew Luck being in the NFL was that Twitter account.
Oh, the general?
The
Civil War general?
was amazing.
That was the best. That was the best. You're right, BJ. That was amazing. I love those. Those were...
They tried to copy one for like Mahomes and others, and it just wasn't.
It's not.
It's not the same.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you can't. No. It's the personality, I think, that fits so well with it, with Andrew Luck. You can't do it for everybody.
No. There's only a few people who could, homage to the past like that. And that was one of them. That dude's amazing.
As we wrap this show up, I'm going to go completely off the wall. It brings
yes.
I just randomly thought about it.
Yes.
That I saw an advertisement on Twitter for hot dog flavored chips. And I immediately looked and I was like, if they're heavy on the ketchup, I know somebody who might buy these chips.
It might get
because I saw your tweet the other day that you ordered another few pallets of these ketchup chips from Canada.
Pallets. Yes.
Could you please explain to these people what I'm talking about?
Old Dutch is a brand that make chips in Canada. And Old Dutch, look it up, Jordan. They make some wacky shit.
Look it up.
No, I said you could look it up, Jordan, if you want. They make dill pickle. They make Mexican chili. Well, right, which doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
Right.
But they're Canada, right? It's like they don't know what they're doing.
Canada.
Like their idea of like Mexican food is like tater tots with like queso. So they're completely zany. Ketchup chips, which is my favorite. How I got hooked on this was as a kid. My parents are divorced, so I'd go live in Canada for the summer at my grandma's house and my dad in Saskatoon and Saskatchewan, and they had all these types of chips, and it was just wild. It was so you can't get them in the States.
That's wild.
So we're gonna talk to guys. Talk to guys chips about making those.
Ooh, it's not the same.
They could try. Give it a whirl.
I'd give it a whirl. Of course I would. I'd give it I tell my kids, man, give it a no thank you bite. I'd give it a no thank you bite. It's like, you're trying this. But ketchup chips, are legit. And when you're a fat kid, you just like get to like the end, you know, when you got the bag, there's like 2-3 inches left. Just crinkle those suckers up, lay into a fine dust, and just dump it down your gullet. You know, just oh, it's just so good. I'm gonna go eat some right now.
Well, on that note, we appreciate everybody for hanging with us till the very end. We appreciate your support of what we've got going on, not just with Outside the Trenches, but at KC Sports Network. Hit that like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio, follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. Don't forget, we don't just cover the Chiefs. We also cover the Royals, Sporting KC, the KC Current, KU, K-State, Mizzou. We've got our stories of Marlia Campbell with really cool stuff coming up with that network or with that show, and some other things that we have as we get closer to the draft that we'll announce here in just a little bit. But again, appreciate all your support. Appreciate you for hanging out. We'll have more content the rest of this week at KC Sports Network to get you through your day. Appreciate you all for hanging out. For Nick, for Tucker, I'm BJ, and for Jordan, thanks for hanging out. See you later.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.